Alright, good afternoon everyone. I just bought a Warmoth guitar and it arrived 2 days ago. I've got all the accessories ready and we're going to be setting this up. So in this video I'll be showing you a step-by-step on how to assemble a guitar from scratch. So let's begin. In this video we are going to be assembling the hardware for this Stratocaster. So the tools that we need, all we need is a drill bit. This is a 3mm drill bit. The first thing that you want to install is actually the bridge, not the pickguard. Because if you screw in the holes for the pickguard, you might install it a little bit off center, and then later when you put in the bridge doesn't fit. And then you got to re-screw everything again. What you want to do is you install the bridge first. Once you have the bridge aligned, and then you measure this exactly to where you want it. Alright, so this is my first time installing a bridge as well. So we're going to figure this out together. Oh, this is so beautiful. Once again, this is like my first time installing a bridge, so hopefully I'm doing everything right. I guess you just push it in, right? Do you just, oh, I guess it's a perfect fit. You just like hammer it in. Do we hammer it in? I have no idea. I guess that we should. Let's just see if it goes in or not, because it looks like it will go in with just a little bit of force. So what I did was, I placed this on the floor with a mat. Just make sure you have nothing below it, because any small item, if you're going to be knocking something so hard, even a small screw or anything is going to leave, you're going to have a very bad day. So just make sure there's nothing at the bottom. Place it down. The start was here. I just took a book, thick book, just place it on top, and just make sure you knock it in place. Knock it until it's flush, and you should be good to go. So there we have it installed. It's flush to the body, and I'm just gonna screw these guys in. The next thing we want to do is to install this. So the trem claw is gonna be floating a little bit. So you don't want it to be resting down here. You want to pull it up a little bit. Oh. They already drilled the hole. I thought I need to drill the hole. So the hole is already drilled here. Okay. But just before I'm going to screw this in, I'm actually going to file this a little bit. Later I'm going to solder my grounding point here. Some people do it here on the trem claw, wherever is comfortable for you. Because now the surface is smooth, the solder is not going to stick on there, it's going to slide off. So you just want to just rub it a little bit. So it's just not as shiny as the others. I'm just going to do it a little bit more. It will be better if you can get a file and just file it. Sandpaper will work, but metal on metal is going to be a lot faster. I think it's a little bit more accurate if I just manually screw it in. Because I don't want to form a wrong thread or install it a little bit sideways. Like if it goes in this way, then it's not going to be good. Okay, now that we got the studs in, we're going to be installing the bridge. So you just want to have the bridge carefully inserted here, and it goes into the groove. Make sure it's not below or above the groove, just right in the center of the groove. And then you want to apply constant forward pressure on it. Okay. So with your thumb, here's a neat trick you can use. Just with your thumb, push back on the bridge. Your fingers holding the cavity here. If you're constantly applying pressure, so it doesn't move around. Flip this around. Have your spring center first. You always want to have pressure on the bridge, right? So once it's here, you can apply pressure by pulling on this spring here. So just pull on the spring, and the bridge will hold in place. See, my thumb. I can let go of my thumb. So now that the bridge is in place, you just have to attach this here. And since there's already pressure here, the bridge is going to hold. And there we have it. The bridge is done. You can install this here. So just make sure it's exactly where you want it to be. So we've marked the dots where we want to drill. So we're going to be using a 3mm drill bit. just straight. If it's going this way, like you see it turning sideways like that, then you know it's not straight, it's going to cause a lot of problems. So just make sure it's straight. You take the screw that you're going to be using, you just measure it, how deep it goes. It doesn't have to be exactly there, but you can just roughly use it. So you just measure this here, and then you take a tape, paste it roughly where you want it. A little bit less is fine, a little bit more is fine, but just roughly where you want it. And just tape it around, and there you go. I like to leave a little bit out here, so as it's turning you can see exactly where you want to go. So as it's turning, you can see. So luthier hack. Go down and just drill down until the tape. There you go. Okay, now that we got the bridge in, we can install the pickguard. Try to leave some space between the bridge and the pickguard. So you don't want it exactly here, right? You want it just a little bit of space. Try not to touch the strings at all. I mean, try not to touch the bridge at all. It's a matte black. Beautiful. Just make sure it fits the neck pocket as well. It's not in the way of the neck. If it's in the way of the neck, you can just like sand it off a little bit. It's not too bad. But you want to make sure it's away from the bridge, because you don't want it to get in the way when you're playing with your whammy bar. Okay, so I've marked out the points here, all the points for the pickguard. So it's always good to just double check one more time. And there we go. So it's perfect like that. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I want to screw on the pickguard first. So I make sure that the rest of the screws are exactly where I want them to be. So you can see these two guys are perfect. But just to make sure the rest are good, it's good that it's not in the way. There's about a 1 mm gap between the strings, I mean between the bridge and the pickguard. So from here you can just screw down. All the screws are where it's supposed to be. We can do the what do you call these guys? Strap pins in here. Okay. So you want the screw to come in here, and you want this mark. And the other one is going to be on the upper horn. You want to mark it a little bit lower from the horn, so it doesn't stick out straight like that. You want to go with the angle of the horn. And we're going to start drilling. So just drill it in from the side. Okay, so just check if it's straight again. Yep. You always want to drill your holes slightly smaller than what the screw size is, because if you make the mistake of drilling the exact size of the drill bit, the whole screw is just going to slide in and out of the hole. Just a couple more 100 turns. Oh shit. This is so tiring. Once again, you don't want to screw it in too tight, because it'll damage the finish. Now the next one. Always guide your screws when you're screwing it in, just to ensure that if you slip, you don't scratch the finish of the guitar. It's not straight sticking out, it's at an angle like that. And we're going to be installing the neck. Warmoth necks, the neck pockets are tapered. So you don't want to slide in the neck this way, because you might crack the finish. So it's slightly tapered. So what you want to do is it's always good to push the neck down from the top. Okay, so just make sure it's right where it is in the pocket. Just slide it down. It's quite hard for you to see, but what I'm doing is basically just holding this. I'm gonna put the neck plate on. Get one screw into the hole. Hold everything in place. Okay, this angle is a bit awkward for me, so I'm just going to do it straight. I'm just going to do it upright like that. So you don't go all the way in yet, and it's always at a diagonal. Because if you screw these two in first, the neck is going to... How do I explain? The neck is going to tilt backwards. If you screw these guys in first, it's going to tilt outwards this way, because you're pulling up over here. So always screw diagonally. Tighten it to the point where you just make sure you do not over tighten things. So I tighten it until it's tight, and loosen it just a little less than quarter turn. just to give some breathing space. Okay. These Warmoth necks, they actually have an extra truss rod adjustment at the side here. So you adjust the neck until it's straight using the main truss rod, and then later after you restring, you can use this side truss rod here, truss rod adjustment, to adjust accordingly. One more thing I actually forgot is the back plate. So many times, a lot of low-end guitars, they do not align this thing with the holes at the back. And when you need to restring, it's such a pain in the ass. If you can't get the strings out from here, it's so stupid. That's the whole purpose of this hole, is to get the strings out easily. So just make sure the access is accessible. I'm just going to drill these holes and clean up the guitar a little bit, and then we'll start on the electronics and then followed by the setup. So yeah, I'm just going to do that. See you in the next video.